Before I start this video, drop a like rating. It really helps our videos get out there to other people. And also subscribe for daily NBA content here on the Mix channel. We're releasing videos every single day about NBA news, NBA storylines, etc. Make sure to comment down below what you think. And actually, a question I want to ask the viewer out there is, who is your 2020-2021 MVP? Drop a comment real quickly and let's get started. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the ceiling, floor, and expectations of perhaps the most intriguing team in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. In this video, I'm going to be going over key points, key circumstances, and just the situation the Golden State Warriors find themselves in right now, and then go right into their ceiling, floor, expectations, and explaining why. So with that introduction out of the way, let's get right to it. So of course, the first thing I want to mention about the Golden State Warriors is Klay Thompson. Man, that one hurt. I'm not a Golden State Warriors fan in any shape or form, but I love Klay Thompson. I mean, who doesn't love Klay? Klay is a good guy, he does his job, and he's a baller on the court, and losing Klay Thompson is devastating for the Golden State Warriors for a couple of reasons. Like, of course, Klay Thompson's shooting, that goes without being said, but something I think people forget about Klay Thompson is his defense. Before he was injured, he was one of the premier 3-and-D players in the NBA. Klay Thompson was the guy that you put on the opponent's best player. And Klay Thompson was instrumental in hiding some of the defensive problems found within Stephen Curry's game. So just losing Klay Thompson is just, outside of the personal component, on a purely basketball point of view, this is absolutely destructive, absolutely devastating for the team. And it's definitely going to decrease their chance of hitting their ceiling and increase their chance of hitting their floor. And then the second point I want to talk about is Andrew Wiggins. And actually for me, I think Andrew Wiggins is going to be the key for this team's success. Now, Andrew Wiggins is talented. I think everyone knows that. There's a reason why he was one of the most hyped prospects coming into the draft, because his talent goes without being said. He is athletic, he is an amazing scorer, and when he's focusing, he really looks like the first overall pick. He is an extremely talented player. Now the question is, number one, what type of Andrew Wiggins will we get? And number two, how will Andrew Wiggins fit with the team? So to that first question about what type of Andrew Wiggins we're gonna get, this is the point that we're not too sure about. Every single year, we think Andrew Wiggins is back, and then he's kind of not back, and he just kind of shoots in subpar efficiency splits. He doesn't really look focused. That's going to be up to Andrew. And Andrew's decision to either show up or not show up is going to be critical in the Golden State Warriors' success. Now, in terms of my second question I had for Andrew Wiggins about fits, personally, I think Andrew Wiggins actually is a pretty decent fit. Now, of course, he's not a perfect fit. Granted, there's not a lot of players in any system that perfectly fit, but Andrew Wiggins is pretty decent. He played a couple of games for the Golden State Warriors. He vamped up his efficiency. His three-point shooting went up. And I think Andrew Wiggins, within a tight and within a stable system like the Golden State Warriors, that's really going to bring out his potential. So I'm really hopeful for Andrew Wiggins. I really hope he pulls it together and starts contributing 22, 23, 24 points per game on efficient shooting splits to push the Golden State Warriors further into contention. And kind of moving on to my third circumstance, my third point is about James Wiseman. Not just as a player on an individual level, but also as a contributor on the team as a whole. Now, I know a lot of people are concerned about James Wiseman because he's a big. And even though I know the Los Angeles Lakers won the championship, they ran 3 bigs, fact of the matter is, the NBA is moving away towards bigs, especially bigs who can't stretch the floor. So the question becomes, how valuable will James Wiseman be? Because as we know, Steph Curry, Draymond, Klay, they're getting up there in age. the only way they can extend their dynasty, the only way they can keep up that energy all throughout the season is by having valuable young players. And how is James Wiseman going to contribute to the team as a big? I'm hoping he could develop a three-point shot. I'm hoping he can do things outside of posting up, like maybe ball handle a little, maybe play make a little, etc. We're going to have to look really closely about James Wiseman. I'm not going to make any prediction or anything about James Wiseman because there's just not a lot we can make a prediction off of. He only played a couple games in college and we just don't know too much about him. So for James Wiseman specifically, this is one of those things where I'm just going to wait and see, and I hope it works out. If James Wiseman becomes a really good big, that's going to be huge for the Golden State Warriors and really push them towards their ceiling. And then the next point I want to talk about is Draymond. And will Draymond continue to be a non-factor? Or will he return to that 2015-2016 All-Star form? And just to put it bluntly, last year Draymond was trash. There's no other way we can put it. He was bad. People were actually pretty excited that Draymond was finally going to get the opportunity he could to actually run an offense without Kevin Durant after he took a backseat for the superstar. I think last year, I'm not going to say proved that he's a glorified role player, but definitely didn't help his case. But still, even with last season, I can't deny Draymond Green's impact when he's playing to his highest level. Draymond Green is that ultimate utility guy, that ultimate Swiss Army knife, that ultimate person who can guard the best player, who can play make, who can spread the floor, at least until he forgot how to shoot past couple years. But regardless of that, Draymond Green is going to be another important factor in this Golden State Warriors puzzle. And then another point I want to talk about is the loss of key role players and culture players like Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston. Now, I'm aware that these players were traded or let go 2 years ago, but last year was basically a gap year, so that doesn't really matter. But still, losing players like Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston, they're important. Look at the Los Angeles Lakers. Sure, LeBron and Anthony Davis were the superstars of that team, but their success was predicated on the availability and the willingness of role players to accept the role, to develop a culture, to develop team chemistry. It's not just about stars. It's also about role players. Look at the Clippers. The Clippers had all the talent in the world, but their key role players and culture players couldn't come together. So how are the Golden State Warriors going to adapt with losing these players? Which kind of goes into my next point, is about depth. If you look at the roster, they just don't look that deep. Outside of the top five, I guess Eric Paschall is a sixth man, but that's kind of it. There's not really a lot of really impactful players. Hopefully, someone can break out. We don't know. But that's going to be tough to not have a deep bench, to have not a lot of solid role players, especially looking at how competitive the West is. So that's going to be big. And then the last point I wanted to talk about is midseason transactions. Are there going to be any trades? That's going to be something we're going to have to look at. I remember reading a Bleacher Report article that said the Warriors might start shopping Stephen Curry. That doesn't make any sense. But they are on the right idea that the Golden State Warriors may be looking to mix things up. If for some reason Andrew Wiggins doesn't fit, they might start shopping him. If for some reason James Harden continues to be less and less happy, who knows? Would they go for a trade for James Harden? I don't know. Those midseason trades are going to be especially important for the Golden State Warriors and really change the outlook of the team. And I had 7 or 8 points. That just shows you how complex this Golden State Warriors picture is. There's so many different parts within the Golden State Warriors. That's why I think they're one of the most intriguing teams. And I haven't even talked about Kelly Oubre yet. Kelly Oubre, how is he going to fit on the team? That's already easily 9-10 moving parts that can affect the Golden State Warriors situation. And there's probably a lot of more factors that I haven't addressed, right? That's why that's why the Golden State Warriors are going to be the number one team I look at, the number one team I follow, because I'm intrigued how it's going to work out. They just have so many different parts, so many different components, so many different aspects of their team. I wonder how they're going to do. And now going into the second segment of today's video, I'm just going to cut right to the chase. What do I think their ceiling is, and what do I think their floor is? And then explaining why that is. And for me, I think their ceiling is the 3rd seed. Why? Why do I think their ceiling is the 3rd seed? Now, I can't realistically put them ahead of the LA Lakers. I can't put them ahead of the LA Clippers. But a prime Steph is a prime Steph. We know who Stephen Curry is. If Stephen Curry returns to MVP form, he is going to light the league on fire. Stephen Curry is a shooter, right? So he doesn't really rely that much on athleticism. And when he's shooting the ball well, he is shooting the ball well. So a prime Stephen Curry is going to already significantly increase their chance to hit their ceiling. And also, if Draymond Green returns back to that all-star form like I was talking about, that's going to make the Warriors really scary because Draymond's that glue guy. Like, I know he's the glue guy off the court. Now we're going to have to figure out if he's the glue guy on the court. And if he is that glue guy on the court, I think they can absolutely get the 3rd seed. And then my last point on the ceiling is I think this hinges on Andrew Wiggins. Now, I might be overestimating the importance of Andrew Wiggins, but I really do think this hinges on Andrew Wiggins. I really do think the play of Andrew Wiggins is going to dictate the ceiling of this team. And there is a realistic world where Andrew Wiggins looks like the second coming of, I don't know, Kevin Durant or something. And he starts balling for the Golden State Warriors and boom, they got a 3rd seed. Like, that's possible. And that's something I can realistically see. Now, if all of these points, all of these puzzle pieces come together, the Golden State Warriors will be one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA and potentially make it to a Western Conference Finals. Now, that's the positive part. That's the ceiling. Now, what's their floor? And unfortunately, I have to set their floor to missing the playoffs. And I would say like a 10th seed. Why? Number one, the pieces just might not work. Like, I think at the start of this video, I don't have the time here, but I was probably talking for like 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, just on all of the different points about the Golden State Warriors. There's just so many pieces involved this year. There's so much change that chances are it might not work. And if a couple pieces start not really clicking in, that's going to really slow down the Golden State Warriors, especially in a hyper-competitive Western Conference. And number two is James Wiseman, realistically, he might not work in the modern NBA. A lot of people were very hesitant for the Golden State Warriors to draft James Wiseman for this particular reason. If James Wiseman ends up being a bust, that's going to suck for the Golden State Warriors. That's going to be a huge blow on their potential and really set them behind in the race in the Western Conference Finals. And then, what if we get the old Andrew Wiggins? What if we get a washed up Draymond? Like, this goes back to my first point about how the pieces just might not fit. We just have no idea. I really hope it does fit. The Golden State Warriors represent a good culture, represent team basketball, but there's just so much change. We have no idea what's going to happen. And if worst comes to worst, the Golden State Warriors may end up at like a 10th seed or an 11th seed. Like, crazy for me to say this. Like, if I said that 2 years ago, I would think I'm going crazy. But seriously, there's just so many different pieces on this team. There's so much change. It's possible. Push comes to shove. A couple things don't fit. James Wiseman's a bust. Andrew Wiggins starts playing bad again. Draymond is washed. Boom. All of a sudden a 10th seed. So those are all of my points, my ceiling and my floor for the Golden State Warriors. Before I wrap up this video, comment down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Were there any points I missed? What do you think their ceiling and floor is? And that concludes my video. Have a good day. Peace out.